An iPhone. Fungible. The last iPhone on Earth. Non-fungible. A basketball. Fungible. A basketball that just got signed after the 2020 LA Lakers championship team just won the NBA Finals. And it's signed by LeBron James. Non-fungible. That ain't just a basketball anymore. And that iPhone that's the last one on the planet, the last one on Earth, how much does that matter? What value might be with that? Let's try a little something different. My favorite shoes that I held on to since the 90s. Non-fungible. Because it's my favorite shoes. But does that hold value to anyone else but me? Most likely not. The Mona Lisa, the official Mona Lisa, transliterated into digital design by its ownership. Non-fungible. Especially after I take it and solidify the ownership of that Mona Lisa that I created on the blockchain. And not only is that now my Mona Lisa masterpiece, but it's also my non-fungible token, my NFT. $2.5 billion plus industry in 2021 thus far alone. Non-fungible tokens have entered the art world, the virtual world, the Metaverse space like a thunderstorm that we've never seen. The days that artists don't get official credit for their work, to some degree, will still abide, but in other ways is waning. Meaning that I can create and craft as an artist, and there's now a community and a colloquial way for me to solidify my work. Whether I want to sell it or not is a completely different story in and of itself altogether. But I could solidify my work on a thing of technology called the blockchain. Now, there are several different types of blockchains. The blockchain is a community ledger, if you will, where you're able to submit your work online, and it's validated of proof of ownership to you. And if an artist wants to sell her work to you, you can solidify that transaction on the blockchain, your Ethereum, your Cardano. You can solidify it on the blockchain, and ownership is assigned. On the subject matter of NFTs, non-fungible tokens, as we defined earlier, I'm often asked, how are NFTs actually made? Well, some NFTs are already made that we're able to go in places like OpenSea and SuperRare and Rarible elsewhere to go and look at and to possibly purchase. But NFTs are made through the transaction, as we said earlier, when it comes to the blockchain. Minting that and having that solidified by anonymous miners, meaning that they are mining your work and solidifying that in a block on the chain and is fueled of the dominant fuel in this present day with Ethereum. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about Ethereum and Ether, gas, and the whole process of what it takes to fuel and funnel that NFT. Now, you have art, design versus natural assets. When I say it's something that's maybe outside of the realm of what we look at when we look at the muse of art, painting, a photo, a picture, shoes, clothing, fashion items, homes, buildings, architecture. All of that can be in play and solidified and minted. Where are they stored? Well, they're stored in places like MetaMask, which is a wallet. They're stored in places like a virtual world, which is a place that you may enjoy real estate to be able to showcase your assets. Where collectors around the world are hoarding their goods. How is it monetized? And that's where we get to a very interesting question. After creating your NFT, you can keep it, you can store it in your wallet, you can hide it in your virtual wallet, you can keep it in a physical wallet, you can put it in a virtual world. You can put it in all those places, but you can also, if you want, to put it on the market for sale. We've seen items go for $60 million plus. We've seen items go for $1. But you go and you take your asset and you put it to market. But what's happening now that we've entered out of this massive NFT bubble, which is spectacular, which is wonderful. Now we're seeing platforms being erected in industry. And what's happening is that the NFT industry as a whole is beginning to verticalize. Meaning that it's not just, hey, we have this one giant market available and there's multiple platforms like OpenSea, which I tend to call OpenSea lost at sea, because you can barely find anything in there. You'll have platforms that are coming out there like NBA Top Shots. And NBA Top Shots, guess what? They're about NBA assets for the very most part. And then you'll have platforms like Hip Hop Coins. Thank you for hosting, by the way. You'll have platforms like Hip Hop Coins where you say, hey, you know what? We have some things in OpenSea and elsewhere, but hip-hop doesn't deserve a section. Hip-hop deserves its own platform, so there you go when it comes to the NFT hip-hop community. You'll have platforms for avocado images. I don't know. You'll have platforms out there, obviously, NFL, FIFA, maybe a specific dedicated platform to the Olympics. You may have NFT platforms that are dedicated to architecture, commercial realty. You may have platforms that are dedicated to shoes, fashion. But discoverability in building these new platforms by way of websites and virtual world spaces is bringing the consumer specifically and more defined towards what they want to purchase, peruse, buy, and ultimately own. What artists want to sell. Now, there's some dominant markets here that are very relevant today. It's not saying that this is the end-all be-all list. It's not saying that there's more that aren't not on the way, because there's many that are on the way, but the dominant markets today when it comes to non-fungible tokens, music, fashion, sports, entertainment. Huge markets. There's still the art sphere. And that has its own place within the NFT market. I call it community art, contribution, where great artists that you've never heard of contribute to the collective of NFT art that's unique, that's fine, that's abstract, that's meaningless to one and everything to someone else. Now, Chris, how do I contribute to the NFT marketplace? Well, it depends on who you are and what you are. Are you a creative? Do you like to create? Do you feel like there's something that you have that's a unique ownership that others would want to put their hands on and others would want to own? Do you want to sell it in the first place? Or do you want to showcase that or flex it? There's so many things that we could talk about when it comes to the entry into being able to create an NFT. There's many directions to go in. But that's not what this session is about. What this session is about is expressing what NFTs actually are. Now, is it going to be worth quitting your whole entire career for? And that there's a bit of a sure footing of success? I wouldn't take it that far. If that's your choice, and to go into this market head on, the best. I offer you the best. Are some people doing it as a hobby move? Yes. Are brands right now finding ways to think about how they can go and take their old memorabilia and showcase it? Of course. Coca-Cola. Would it be surprised if tomorrow you saw Kellogg's doing it? Well, how can I compete with these major corporations and companies that have all these old archived assets of material? It's a great question too. But some of the biggest assets that are being curated are not from major companies and corporations. The biggest assets that are being purchased in the NFT space are not necessarily from companies and corporations. For some, they're from people you've never heard of. Now, if you want to be a proprietor of NFT distribution, that's also a session that we're going to have at another time. But here's the biggest question of the day. What is the perfect setting for NFTs within the metaverse? I've spent countless hours thinking about this question, and I didn't even know that I was thinking about it. What is the most complementary, singularly speaking, what is the most complementary marriage between NFTs and the metaverse? What is the number one thing that brings them together perfectly? What makes them beat as one? And through all the hours and all the research and exploration and unearthing rocks in the forest, looking and scouting, searching high and low for that one thing that makes NFTs and the metaverse the perfect pairing, it's been right in front of me all this time. But sometimes you have to go in a very roundabout way to come to the destination of understanding, in my understanding. The perfect pairing of the marriage between NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and the metaverse is ownership of space. Ownership of space, meaning that in my metaversal platform and in your metaversal platform that you might be building, in these virtual worlds, these constructs, you are allowing people to have an ownership, opportunity of your manifested dream, of your culture. You are giving someone the opportunity to buy your culture and to own it right along with you in a very small, intimate, measured piece. Ownership gives you autonomy for naming rights. Ownership lets you, the owner, build what you want to build in that given space with the tools that are available, and so long as it's established with the settings of covenants or ordinances. But it lets them have a small or large part of your slice of the pie. The ownership of space, the autonomy that comes with it, the planting of the seed and the tilling of the ground, and the cultures that will abound within your culture is a phenomenal growth and a natural growing process of the metaverse itself. Because at the heart of each metaversal platform is community. And how does community grow? It grows from within. And the thing that is growing is culture itself. Cultures stem from other cultures. And at a very hybrid and amorphous scale, they form and fashion and change to things altogether different, and consumed by a new audience, buy-in, members. And they too will buy into that culture, to take ownership of it, to feed it and to nurture it and to grow it into something altogether different. The marriage pairing between the NFT world and metaversal spaces is ownership. Thank you. Thank you for taking time to spend a little bit of time with me together.